Bonsoir classe. Tonight we're going to talk about les pronoms compléments d'objet direct. We started talking about direct object pronouns in class today. I'd like to review the first few slides of this presentation, and then we'll move on to some exercises that you guys can do for class tomorrow. You'll recall that we already talked about les pronoms compléments d'objet indirect, or PCOI. These are PCODs, pronoms compléments d'objet direct. Okay, in English they are things like it, you, him, her, me, them. And notice, yes, there is a little overlap between the pronom complément d'objet direct and the pronom complément d'objet indirect, just in terms of the terminology, not in terms of how they're used though. Okay, so remember that when we talked about les pronoms compléments d'objet indirect, we talked about giving things or doing things to or for someone, okay, and that's what that was all about, to or for someone. All right. With these, we're talking about the thing that receives the verb directly. So, for example, when we have this example right here, Mathilde donne la déesse à Leila pour Noël. Okay. The indirect object was à Leila. She was the person to whom or for whom, in this case, to whom the thing was being given. The thing that is given, in other words, the thing that is verbed, here the verb is give, so I say the thing that was given, the thing that was verbed, is the direct object. Okay, so in this case it's la déesse, or la Nintendo. Okay, we don't use the same series of pronouns to replace these as we do les pronoms compléments d'objet indirect, okay, with the exception of a couple of overlapping cases. So let's have a look and see what happens to la déesse, which is the thing given, when we replace it with a pronoun. We get Mathilde la donne à Leila. Okay, la here replaced la déesse. So here we have another sentence with a direct object. Aurélia a son cadeau. Okay, what is the thing that is had by Aurélia? What does she have? Son cadeau. That's the direct object. That's the thing being verbed, so to speak. Okay, so if we're going to replace son cadeau with an object pronoun, it has to be a direct object pronoun. Okay, we're not replacing to or for person here, so we're going to end up with le replacing le cadeau, and because our because our verb starts with a vowel, we're going to have Aurélia la. J'emmène mes enfants faire du ski. Okay. In this case, we don't use a after the verb emmener. We just say to take. Okay. To take. In this case, mes enfants faire du ski. So the people or things being taken are mes enfants, plural. We need a direct object pronoun. So why don't you guess exactly what pronoun we're going to put in the blank here? Okay. Based on what's up to now, take a good guess at it. On a regardé la montagne depuis notre chambre. Okay. Here we have a sentence in the passé composé with la montagne is the thing being looked at. Okay. From our room, depuis notre chambre. Okay. So the thing being verbed is la montagne. That is the direct object, is the thing being looked at or watched. Verb in the past tense. Let's see what happens. Okay, first of all, our pronoun is going to go in front of the whole avoir and the past participle. In other words, in front of the verbal string there that's part of the passé composé. Notice I had to add an E because quel pronom est-ce qu'on met avant a? So what pronoun do you think we're going to put in that blank before a? Give it a stab. Okay, hopefully you said la to replace la montagne. And But of course, we're going to have to put in an L apostrophe here because we have a verb that starts with a vowel. Okay, the E on the end of regarder is there because when we place a direct object pronoun that's feminine in front of a verb in the passé composé, we have to make it agree. Okay, that only happens with avoir. Okay, here we have an example of the use of a pronoun other than le, la, or les as a direct object pronoun. We can also use nous for us because, of course, you can be taken as here we have the verb emmener, or you can be invited, or any number of things as a person. Okay, we can have nous, we can have vous, we can have me, and we can have te as well as direct object pronouns. So there's some overlap there because we could also, if you recall, use me, te, nous, and vous as indirect object pronouns to replace a plus a person. The difference is that here we don't have a after our verb, but we are still going to replace, when appropriate, people with me, te, nous, vous. So what do you think we would put in this blank? Si vous voulez, nous pouvons emmener à Nancy. Who is this sentence addressed to? So whom do you think you would put in the red blank? Hopefully you answered vous. Nous pouvons vous emmener à Nancy. Okay. The person or people in this case being taken somewhere are vous. Okay. We're being brought somewhere. Vous. So we're going to use vous as our direct object pronoun. So okay, let's unpack this now. Let's look at our direct object pronouns, okay, that we've been using in the last few slides. We can use the object pronouns to the right to replace things in sentences if we don't want to repeat a noun, just as you would do in English. So in other words, to avoid saying, I give you the pen, you take the pen, etc. You say, I give you the pen, you take it. Okay, so these are used for the same purpose we use object pronouns in English. Okay, in other words, it, he, she, him, her, you, us, etc. Okay. And remember that these are not the same as our indirect object pronouns. They don't replace a plus a person generally after a verb. So here they are. Le for things that are masculine and singular. La, meaning it, for things that are feminine and singular. These can be it or he, him or her as well. Okay. If for example, with inviter, je l'invite could mean I invite him or her. And that brings us to L apostrophe, it, or him or her again. This is for masculine, feminine, singular, masculine or feminine, singular things or people with a vowel after. Les, okay. Me or M apostrophe if there's a vowel at the beginning of our verb. De or T apostrophe for you if there's a vowel at the beginning of our verb. Nous and vous. Okay, where do we place these? Well, we place them in the exact same places we place les PCOD. There are pronoms complément d'objet indirect, our indirect object pronouns are IOPs, okay? So, if we only have one verb, it's really simple. We place our direct object just before the verb. Elle a. If we have passé composé, we put it in front of avoir, which is the helping verb. Elle a pris. If we have one conjugated modal verb like aller, pouvoir, vouloir, espérer, aimer, préférer, these are all verbs that we can use with infinitives after them, remember, and an infinitive, we place the direct object pronoun right before the infinitive. Nous pouvons vous emmener à Paris, from our example that we saw before. Okay, we're going to look at this tomorrow. Okay, well, now try these examples. Replace the underlined words with a PCOD, direct pronom complément d'objet indirect, pronom complément d'objet direct, direct object pronouns, and rewrite the sentences, okay? You should replace the underlined words. Notice that the verbs are in red to help you. Notice that there may be more than one verb, so be careful about placement. You can always go back and look at this previous slide to review placement. So give these a try on a separate sheet of paper, bring them to class tomorrow. encore. More of the same. Careful with the tense of the verb. I tell you in parentheses that these are passé composé sentences. And going back, of course, here, I also indicated to you that we had a verb in the first one, for example, présent, un verbe, how many verbs there are, and what kind of situation you have. Notice that the second sentence here is negative. Je n'ai pas écrit la lettre. Be careful about placement of your indirect object pronoun. The same rules we learned for PCOIs apply here. In other words, the pronoun goes inside the ne pas unless we have a modal verb like aller, pouvoir, vouloir, aimer, préférer, etc. Maintenant, répondez. Now, try answering these questions, replacing the italicized words with direct object pronouns. In some cases, you may have a pronoun that's very similar to the one that's in, I'm sorry, it's in italics. I think I said in parentheses earlier, but in italics. Okay, so replace the words in italics with a direct object pronoun and answer the questions on a separate sheet of paper. Et voilà. Merci. Merci pour votre attention. Merci de votre écoute. Et à bientôt.